I got arrested in front of my entire campus for walking to the library. Yeah, you heard that right. No fight, no argument, no stolen property. Just me, a backpack full of books, and a cop who decided my rights didn't matter. He told me straight-faced, "Your rights are whatever I say they are." And right then, standing in the middle of the quad with everyone watching, I realized something I'll never forget. The law doesn't always protect you when you look like me. My name's Layla. I was 20, a political science major at Riverdale University, the type of student who believed in fairness and justice, and the system working if you just stayed calm. I'd literally walked out of constitutional law class that afternoon feeling proud. We've been debating the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure, probable cause, all that. And I remember saying, as long as you know your rights and you stay respectful, you'll be fine. I wish I could go back and laugh at how naive that was. 10 minutes later, I learned the truth. It was a warm Thursday, leaves just starting to turn, and I was crossing the quad toward the library when a patrol car swerved in front of me like I'd run a red light on foot. Door opens, and this officer, Sergeant Thompson, mid-30s, tin uniform, mirrored sunglasses, steps out and says, "You stop right there." Not, "Excuse me, not ma'am." Just an order sharp and loud enough for people around to look up. I froze because even if you've done nothing wrong, that tone makes you feel guilty somehow. He marches right up, one hand on his belt near the gun, and says, "You match the description of a suspect in multiple dorm room thefts." I blinked like what? I literally laughed, not a disrespectful laugh, more like disbelief, and said, "I think you've got the wrong person." That's all it took for his eyes to narrow. He said, "You think or you know?" I told him, "Sir, I'm a student here. I'm just heading to the library." He stepped closer, voice rising. "Don't get smart with me. You can cooperate or you can go downtown." And just like that, I was in the spotlight. People stopped walking. Phones came out. You could feel the tension like a string about to snap. I tried to explain calmly. "Can you tell me what exactly was stolen or when this happened?" He laughed, this low, smug laugh, and said, "Oh, you one of those types, huh? The ones who think they know the law." And I said, "Actually, I study the law. I know I have the right to refuse a search without probable cause." That's when he dropped the line that burned into my brain forever. "Your rights are whatever I say they are right now, sweetheart." Sweetheart, like I was a child, like he owned me. He ripped the backpack off my shoulder and dumped it right there on the ground. My laptop, notebooks, highlighters, everything spilling out while he looked at the crowd and said, "Pretty fancy gear for a broke student, huh?" Some people gasped, some just filmed, some turned away like they couldn't handle watching. I could feel the heat crawl up my neck. Humiliation, anger, fear all at once. I said, steady as I could, "You don't have the right to do that." He smirked. "Watch me." He held up my laptop and said, "Looks like the kind of thing that goes missing a lot around here." My voice cracked. That laptop was a gift from my parents for making the dean's list. He leaned in and whispered, "Got a receipt for that gift?" Then he turned to the crowd and said louder, "She's not cooperating." That's how they do it. You know, they narrate the story before you can. I'll never forget how that felt, standing there surrounded by my classmates while he built a lie out loud. I heard someone yell, "Leave her alone." And another student, Omar from the student council, said, "She's in my study group. She didn't steal anything." Thompson spun on him and barked, "Back up before I cuff you too." That's when I realized he wanted an audience. I raised my voice so everyone could hear. "I'm being arrested for asking questions about my constitutional rights." He lost it, grabbed my wrists, twisted them behind me, slammed the cuffs on. "You're under arrest for theft and obstruction. Obstruction for asking a question." He pushed me toward the squad car while people shouted and filmed. My books were still on the ground, pages torn from where they hit the pavement. I told myself not to cry. If I cried, he'd win. But I'll be honest, inside I was terrified. Chief Morales, the head of campus security, ran up right before the door closed. Calm, older guy, he asked Thompson, "What's your probable cause?" Thompson said, "She fits the description. Black female, red sweater, backpack." Morales looked around and said, "That's half the female students here, officer." Thompson said, "City jurisdiction. Stay in your lane," and slammed the door. I'll never forget that sound. The door closing on my life like a chapter one didn't agree to write. The car smelled like sweat and vinyl. My hands hurt. I stared out the window at the quad fading behind me. All those faces, some angry, some scared, some curious. And all I could think was, they're going to tell this story without me. At the station, they treated me like a criminal. Fingerprints, mugshot, personal items in a plastic bin. Sergeant Thompson filled out a report that might as well have been fiction. He said I was erratic, that I refused commands, that I attempted to flee. I sat there shaking, thinking about my future, law school, internships, everything, and how one man could destroy it in an afternoon. But outside, the world was already catching fire. Ethan, the student journalist, uploaded the video. Within hours, it hit local news. Within 12, it was national. Hashtags everywhere, people furious. The clip of Thompson dumping my bag played on repeat, my voice echoing, "I'm being arrested for asking about my rights." The campus erupted. Students marched. Professors spoke out. Even the dean had to make a statement. They called it unfortunate. That word felt like an insult. But here's where the twist comes in. The part that changed everything. See my dad? He's not just any dad. His name's Elias Vargas. Councilman Elias Vargas. Yeah, the guy on TV talking about police reform and constitutional accountability. I never used his last name on campus because I wanted to earn things on my own, to just be Layla Khan, regular student. But on my emergency contact form, the school had his real information. So when Dean Hughes called my emergency contact to inform them of my arrest, she didn't get a worried parent. She got a powerful city councilman. He was literally in a public safety committee meeting about police oversight when he got the call. Someone showed him the video mid-session. He told me later he kept his composure for exactly 2 minutes before walking out. By that evening, the mayor's office had called the Metro Police Department. By morning, the Civil Rights Bureau was in their lobby with subpoenas. Yeah, that happened. The entire department went into panic mode. Thompson was suspended, then fired, then charged. His record came out. 14 complaints in 8 years, mostly about aggressive behavior and racially biased stops. All buried until now. My charges disappeared overnight. Insufficient evidence. I walked out free, but hollow, like someone had stolen the version of me that believed being right would protect me. Rivers University cut ties with Metro PD. They created a new rule. City police can't step foot on campus without authorization. And they launched mandatory training on how to assert your rights calmly and safely. They called it the Layla Protocol. I didn't ask for that, but if it helps another kid not go through what I did, I'll take it. My dad turned my case into momentum. His reform bill, the one that had been sitting ignored for years, suddenly got bipartisan traction. The video played in committee hearings. The narrative wasn't just girl arrested anymore. It became, how do we let it get this far? But I'll tell you what I tell everyone. This shouldn't have taken a councilman's daughter going viral to make people care. There are thousands of Laylas who don't have a famous last name, who don't get cameras, who don't get federal investigations. They just get records, trauma, and silence. 6 months later, I spoke at a civil rights summit. My voice still shook when I said it, but I meant every word. I didn't become an activist because I wanted to. I became one because I didn't have a choice. The crowd stood up. Some cried. Even a few cops were there, nodding quietly. That was surreal. But healing isn't linear. I still flinch sometimes when I see flashing lights. I still think about how quickly my name could have been forgotten. Yeah, I got justice, kind of. Thompson lost his badge. Got time. The department faced oversight. My school changed policies. My dad passed a law. But you want to know the truth? If I hadn't been Councilman Vargas's kid, none of it would have happened. Not like this. And that thought keeps me grounded, keeps me angry, keeps me fighting because I was lucky. And that's the part that breaks me. So, here's what I'll leave you with. What does justice actually look like to you? Is it one bad cop losing his job, a law passing, a campus policy changing? Or is it a world where nobody has to go viral just to be treated like a human being? Think about that. And if you're still here listening, drop "I saw it" in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me if you've ever seen something like this happen and whether you spoke up or just kept filming.